So first, I do want to say that this session is going to be recorded. It will be on YouTube. The exact time is yet unknown. I am still waiting for links from the captioning department, so as soon as I have them, I am going to be sending them out. So today you are all here for how to fund your business, which is the third part of our 4-part series. All sessions, again, are being recorded. So if you do not want to be seen, please make sure you go ahead and turn your video or webcam off. And they will be uploaded as soon as possible, and I will send out all of that information. I'll also be sending out the slides that we shared today and any other information from the webinar, so you will have that as well. The agenda, pretty similar to our first 2 presentations. We'll have roughly 30 minutes for presenters, which we have some fabulous guest speakers today. We'll do a 15-minute Q&A session, but during the whole entire session today, please feel free to ask your questions in the chat, and that way we can kind of rapid fire through them once we get to the Q&A portion. We'll also have a 5 to 10 minute enrollment services Q&A. So we've heard from them from our previous 2 sessions. So if there's any questions that you have about WCC in general, or the entrepreneurship certificate program or anything else that we can answer, we'll have time to go over that as well. If you'd like more information about these webinars or any of the content, please feel free to reach out to me. My name is Lauren Ward, and I am the coordinator of the Business and Computer Technologies Division. And you can reach me at lcward, W-A-R-D, at wccnet.edu. And then for specific business resources, please reach out to the Entrepreneurship Center at entrepreneurship@wccnet.edu. And from here, I am going to turn it over to Anthony, who will introduce our guest speakers, and we'll get rolling.
Okay. Hope everybody's doing well today. So we have 2 guest speakers, and I'm really happy and proud to have them here to share their knowledge and their understanding and wisdom, and to help you guys understand the track that we're trying to get on in terms of being entrepreneurs. But the thing that they're going to bring to your attention is understanding the funding aspect and the different things that are out there in terms of availability for funding, and to try to, it should encourage you in terms of being an entrepreneur, things that you need to do going forward to make sure all those things are there for you. So I have 2 guests. First is Nicole, and I'm gonna let them introduce and put their things, their bio, and let you know all things about them. But Nicole's at Lake Trust Bank, and she's going to go over some of the different things on the banking aspect to give you an understanding of what they do and some of the things that they are capable of in terms of small business and the things that are out there in terms of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship within their bank and how they can help. And I have Ferris. He's here. He's an entrepreneur. He has his business, but what he's going to touch on some things that his business and company has done recently in terms of funding, in terms of loans, microloans, and things of this nature. So he can get in more detail and tell you some of the things that he's experienced over the past 15 years and what he has experienced recently. And that was so great about what's going on now here, especially here in the United States, in terms of the capabilities of funding for a business or entrepreneur starting up. So with that being said, Nicole, I think I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit more thoroughly and go over all the details that you have and what you can bring to this audience, and then Ferris, you can go from there. So thank you both for being here. I appreciate you, and Nicole, I'll leave it to you.
All right, well, hello. As Anthony said, I'm Nicole Dietrich. I'm from Lake Trust Credit Union, and I am the business development. You're okay, you're fine. I'm development manager for Lake Trust Credit Union, and I have been in the financial services industry for a very, very long time that sits outside of my business development role. But, you know, Lake Trust, we have 3, for those of you that do not know, we have 3 locations throughout Washtenaw County. However, we have over 20 locations really from lake to lake, hence the name Lake Trust. And we have robust commercial offerings if you're thinking large business. We can serve all of your business needs, but we're also a CDFI funded financial institution. So we'll get to that in a minute, but both of those are really important things to know when you're looking for businesses. I think even greater than the financial aspect though, and it's why our work with the Entrepreneurship Center and the SBDC is so important to us, is that we really have a passion to be an engine that will drive financial wellness, not just for our members, but for the community and the state as a whole. And Lake Trust really believes that that starts with entrepreneurs, and you have to do that, and you have to support the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And so when we're thinking about solutions and ways to help and different partners and lending, we have all of that in mind. And that's really, really important when you're talking to your lenders, to make sure that they understand your business need. It's almost like you need to go in and interview them as well as maybe they're talking to you about your needs. So to kick it off, to talk about lending, do you want me to roll into this, or do you want Ferris to sort of do his intro as well? You want me just to keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, so we're going to talk about lending. When you're thinking about funding your business, I think there's a few key things to think through. You really do, all businesses, and I should add, I'm also married to a serial entrepreneur, so I really do understand the world that you're living. All businesses always need more cash. You always need help with your cash flow, but you need to understand kind of what your purpose is. And there's things to consider, like how much do you need? Do you need over 50,000? Do you need under 50,000? And it's need, not want, right? It's a need. So breaking it out into that is going to depend on the lending path that you're going to take. Also keeping in mind that, are you looking to start up? Are you looking to scale? Would you just like a safety net? Those are all things that will help drive you when it comes to your lending decisions. And you know, I think lenders, a big key is they're going to review, all lenders will review your likeliness to pay back the loan. So keeping in mind that your personal credit is crucial when you are looking even for business lending. So I think those are things you want to keep in mind first. What's the need? What are you going to use it for? How much? And thinking through your personal credit, where are you at with that? If you need to, I would recommend starting, if you're concerned about your personal credit, start there, get that fixed. You also need to look for a financial institution. I know when Lake Trust looks at loan applications, we will approve and listen to the story. Make sure that, you know, again, your lender is listening to you, because we know and understand business owners, you leverage every last penny you have, right? So your debt to income ratio might look a little crazy, but when you start peeling back the onion, maybe your personal credit isn't as bad as it is because the business is paying for your car, the business is paying your personal credit card. So those are all things that you have to keep in mind when it comes to lending, that your personal credit doesn't always tell the full story if it's just your credit score. So once you've determined what your need is, I think then you have to start down the path of what type of loan do I want. Sometimes once people walk through that process, they realize they're not even really quite ready for a loan. Maybe they just need a simple separate credit card because they're really at this point just making small purchases. They're not scaling, they just need a few things. It is really important to start separating, if you can, if you're in a position with your business, to start separating your personal expenses and your business expenses. And a good way to do that could simply just be a separate credit card. But let's say you've crossed that path and you're like, actually, I need whatever the amount is under 50,000. Then you could be looking at a microloan. And that would be the first step, that you want to start looking through the process to see if you can find a lender that offers microloans. And honestly, these we find for individuals that are just starting or just getting ready to scale, these often are your best and most appealing bet, because there's microloans and you can get micro line of credit. For example, Lake Trust has an interesting solution. It's a business purpose microloan. So it's written on your personal credit, because we know if you're just starting a business, there's not a lot to the business. So you want to look for solutions that are creative like that as well. And then let's say you are looking ahead and you realize, I really probably need, not want, over the 50,000. Then you're looking into commercial lending. There's lots of commercial lenders out there. We always recommend working with somebody. First, if you can find an SBA approved credit lender, the Small Business Association is what that stands for if you're not familiar. For example, Lake Trust, we have been awarded an SBA Lender of the Year award. So if you're not familiar with the SBA, that's one of the organizations, along with SBDC, along with the Entrepreneurship Center, that you want to familiarize yourself with. You can find them at sba.gov. They really can help you through that process, and it also reduces the risk of the lender. But commercial loans could definitely be a way to go, but keep in mind, not all financial institutions, but most of them will want to see a significant amount of time in service. So maybe 2 years. Some of them will want 250,000 in revenue. So you have to understand all of that before you jump into it. And again, it's not always. That's why it's important for you to interview your financial institution as well, to make sure that you know what they're looking at and that you're on the same page. Before I move on, are there any questions about just that piece? I don't want to go too fast.
Nicole.
Also, I didn't see any, so I also mentioned, we talked a little bit about the SBA, and I have a feeling Ferris is going to touch on that as well. So I'll let him take that piece, but I mentioned that Lake Trust is a CDFI funded institution, and that's important as well, because what that means is we're a community development financial institution. So it means we're a mission-driven institution that really is there to serve the underserved. Lake Trust is certainly not alone. There's a lot of wonderful CDFI institutions out there. So even looking for something with that, because we might take on a greater risk than some of your traditional lenders will. When you're going to your lender, whatever it is, whatever the dollar amount, and this is good in your personal kind of thought process as well, but you're going to want to have a few things ready. Just like when you would walk in to get a personal loan, you know what your income is. You have to know those things for your business. So just start getting it ready. You may or may not need it, but you're going to want your business and personal tax returns, if you have them, your business and personal statements. And again, the business statements are important because sometimes that impacts just simply your debt to income. You can show that a personal credit card is being paid by the business. You can show that while that car is in your name, the business is paying that, so that offloads some of that. Also think about outside of the box. When I'm working with a lot of individuals, we find a lot of income on PayPal, Venmo, so make sure you have those statements pulled as well. That's really important to know how much you're intaking from there. Any credit card statements that you might have, obviously any business legal documents that you have that shows the ownership, that's important to have with you, and a business plan. If you don't have one, there's some friends on this call that definitely can help walk you through that. No matter how small or how large you are, it's really important that you have a business plan. And I'm sure Kristen and her team would be happy to help you through that if you don't have one. So those are a few of the things that we as lenders will look at and want to see. There's also something I just wanted to touch on briefly. It's the 5 C's of credit. I'm not going to get deep in them. There's a lot of information out there, but it is something good to really think through. The first one is character. We talked about that very early, and it's your really willingness to pay back your loans. So think of that. That's your credit score. That's your payment history, your cash flow. That's our second one. That is simply your ability to pay back the loan. Collateral. Some loans will need to be secured by collateral. You know, just a lot like personal loans, honestly. And a lot of this is very simple. It sounds very complex and when you start adding the extra dollar amount. But if you think about the process you have to go through when you go to get a car loan, it can look a lot like that. So we're at collateral, then we have capitalization. How much money have you put into a business? And when you're talking about SBA loans, they do want to see that you have some skin in the game, that you've put some funds in there. So how much money personally have you put into the business? That's why you want to start separating your business accounts as quickly as possible. Try to not commingle a lot of funds if you can. You need to get it separate so you can show how much personally you're putting in, how much personally you're getting paid, and those expenses aren't all meshed together. And then conditions. A lot of times we talk our lenders through like a SWOT analysis. So think of that. What is the strength? What are the opportunities in your business? What are your weaknesses? And I always forget the what. Oh, and the threat. The T is the threat. So what we like to say, get it all out on the table. That's why you need to have a trusted lender. Just walking in or doing it, the first application you see online isn't always the best bet. You have to have a really close relationship with your lenders so they understand your business and you're comfortable sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly is what I like to say, because we're going to find it out anyways. So just let's be clear. There's always circumstances behind the ugly that as business owners, we might not think like, oh, I don't want to tell them that, but it can oftentimes be completely explained away. So those are some of the things that when it comes to lending, just to recap, think about how much you need, what type of loan might be best. Is it a micro loan? Is it a simple credit card? Do you need a commercial loan? Do you need a line of credit? Do you need a fixed loan? Like, are you buying a food truck that costs X? Then a fixed loan would be your best bet. But if you don't know how much something's going to cost, a line of credit might be your best opportunity. And then you want to think through what your personal credit is. Is there anything there we need to look at? Get all the documentation. The more that you can tell us your story, the better. I think that's really, the more you can tell us about your business, the better, honestly, is a really good summation for lenders.
Thank you, Nicole. We'll come back later with Q&A. So everybody, questions for Nicole, we're gonna save them till later. Make sure you bring them to her and we'll discuss some of those, some of the questions that you have, and she'll go over those things with you. So now I'll let Ferris, if you don't mind introducing yourself and go in detail. I know you're on a short time today, but.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Nicole. Such a great summary for what people need to know, actually. So, and I like that you started, because it's like the end of the day, we all want to be with someone like Nicole, whether it's a bank or a CDFI, because it's where we need to be. I'm going to tell you about the other side of it, right? The process of applying and getting those from an entrepreneur. I've been fortunate to have been running this organization called International Strategic Management since 2003, but the roots of it started in the early 90s with making t-shirts for fundraising for nonprofits. This is how we started for that cause. So without going too much details, I will tell you that I've been fortunate also to work with probably on an average on a yearly basis, no less than 10,000 entrepreneurs globally in 60 countries, helping them from idea stage to growth. As a matter of fact, I was talking earlier today with an incubator overseas about what kind of supports can be established for entrepreneurs. And in that process, I get to listen to a lot of stories, to Nicole's point, about people wanting to raise funds from a startup stage to existing business to a growing business. And these are three different elements or ways that you want to think about yourself when you're going for funding. I'm going to reflect back on what some of the things Nicole said and say, for you to get some funding, you need to make sure that you know, before you even interview anyone, you know your story pretty well. Because if you don't know your story, these are individuals who their whole job is to listen to you, to learn about your story, so they could sell it to the committee that they serve, especially if we're talking about CDFIs and microfunding. They're not looking, they'll look at your credit, but at the end of the day, they'll give you money even if you have bad credit, as long as there's a story behind it that backs it up to make sense for the investments to be made. So I'm curious, how many of you on the call, I see some familiar faces, by the way. It's always good to see some names and faces that you know. But I'm curious, from the participants who are here today, would you mind just in the chat telling me, well, what stage of business are you in? Are you thinking about one? If you're thinking about one, say idea. If you're thinking if you already started, just say startup. If you're already making some revenue, you could also say startup. If you're just thinking you are a crazy bunch of people telling me to start a business, that's also okay. You could say that in the chat. Whatever you think, I'd love to just hear startup stage, idea stage, job search, whatever you want to do. Just go ahead and just start, typing it up. I see already a couple coming. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it looks like we got a lot of startups, some ideas.
Cool. So the reason I asked that, because if you don't know where you are, it's going to be hard for you to get money. So if you're in the idea stage, most likely the banks are not the best place to start. Not saying that you can't start there, but it's just not the best place. A CDFI or friends and family would be a better spot, because most likely a bank, the first thing they're going to tell you, that's great. Can I see your last 2 years of tax returns for the business? And then can I see your year-to-date cash flow statement and P&L statement? And I don't want to name all these statements to you because you may know what they are, you may not. It doesn't matter, but they are financial documents that the bank will ask you to provide. I know this because just between March and now, we've secured few loans and few grants just between March and now. We were fortunate enough to get funding from the state of Michigan with their strategic fund. We were one of the lucky 50 organizations that got some money from that. So we have a loan with that. Then we also were lucky enough to get some funding from one of the counties here on a grant, as well as we were able to secure the the PPP funding. So these are 3 spots that we're able to secure this year just between March and now. And I could tell you the process, although it's painful, it becomes easy if you have all your ducks in the rows and if you've been in business. If you're a startup, none of these institutions today would have funded that deal. They all ask for at least 2 years of business tax returns, or at least 1, and some ask for 3. So, and then some ask for a year to date this year. So if you're not organized in a way to respond, most likely you're going to have a hard time getting some funding, because the bankers or the person who's lending you the money is looking for the story behind the numbers. Because the numbers can tell a story, any story, and you decide what story do you want your numbers to tell. So if you don't make up the story that backs up the data, they're going to make up the story that backs up the data that they have. So, and that could be to your favor or not to your favor. So I will say being organized, understanding what bank to go to for which stage of business you're going to. And then Nicole touched on, to know how much to ask from whom. This is also important. You don't want to go to a person that only gives you 50 and say, I'm looking for $500,000. Well, they don't have it. They only have 50. They may be able to work with other institutions, but you got to know what the right ask. And if you haven't done your homework, to Nicole's point, most likely they're afraid to give you money, because if you can't manage information and funds that you have now, how can you manage additional information and additional funding that you're going to get? So that's how they look at it. Also, there is also a better way to get funding if you can secure it. And that's, anyone knows what's the best way to get funding for your business? The best way to get funding for your business, besides any of the things that we talked about. Okay, go ahead and type it in the chat so others could see it. So I heard friends and family. Actually, that's the worst place to get funding from because it can make your Thanksgiving dinner very awkward. Although these days there is no Thanksgiving, so it'll be through Zoom and you might be okay. But any grants are okay, not really the best. No, not the best way to get funding. So think about it from a sustainability perspective. Where is the best way to get your funding from? If you want to be around, grants are not necessarily wanting you to be around. The grants giving you money to do something, and if you're not around next year, they'll feel bad, but they're going to move on. Grant is, yourself is actually the second worst place, because unfortunately you believe yourself so much that you'll just keep investing. So you can actually put yourself out of money. Although I always tell people, if you don't invest, then no one else will. So you got to make some investment. Okay. I see someone wrote customers. All right. The best funding comes from customers. Do you know why?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know why? Who would tell me why would be the best funding comes from customers? I'm sorry about that, guys. Who would tell me why? You know the answer.
Word of mouth?
Nope, that's not why. Why is the best money coming from customers? The best money, it comes from customers. I'll give you a hint.
Because they're the heart of the business? Is it because they're the heart of our businesses? Like they're the ones who drive our business. They're the ones who keep.
No, they give you money and guess what they want? They want your product or service.
Exactly.
That's what they want. They want you to do your job. Well,
Right.
if I give you money on a bank or CDFI or investor or friends and family or yourself, guess what you want back? You want your money back and a little bit more. So I take the customer's money all day long because the customer's telling me they want what it is that I'm making, and it's a validation for your business. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go after money that, you know, from a bank or from an institutions. I'm just saying the best funding that can come, especially in the startup stage, can come from a customer, unless of course you need funding to get started, which these days you could also be creative with. I'm gonna stop, Anthony, just because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. And we'll give a couple of minutes if somebody wants to ask me questions before I take off at 1:30. And I'm really sorry that I have to be gone by 1:30. Terribly sorry.
No problem. We appreciate that time. That was really insightful, Ferris. We appreciate it. Does anybody have a question for Ferris at this time? Or any other? But you did a good job because you asked questions while you were doing it and they gave some responses. So I appreciate the audience for your responses as well. So we learned a lot in terms of understanding funding, the best people to get funding from. I didn't think about the awkward Thanksgiving days, so that's a good one.
Yeah, the last thing I will say is always create what, and Nicole touched on it, create what they call in the bank world or the funding world, milestone funding. So people know what you're gonna use the money for what period of time to establish what. So an example of that would be, let's just say you want 50 total, but you only need 15 to get started. And the 15 will include setup fees, you know, maybe hiring some temporary staff, maybe buying some inventory. And you need that over the next 6 months. But then 6 months later, you need another 20. And that's going to be for scaling up with maybe a sign outside, some marketing and so on. The funders love to see that because they're going to know that you understand what you're going to use the money to do what with it, and helps them understand to stage, okay, so you're telling me that for the next 6 months, you most likely are going to pay me back because you have no income coming in. So let's figure out a way to make that work. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for responding. I so appreciate your engagement. Good to see you.
Yep. Thank you for attending. I appreciate everything, Ferris.
All right, so as Ferris gets off the call, we're going to have a little bit more presentation, and this one's going to be from Kristen and Aaron from the EC, and they're going to kind of tie everything together and talk a little bit more about those microloans and grants, since a lot of us here are in that idea and startup stage. Take it over to Kristen.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. If you've come to the first two sessions, you've seen us, so we're going to be very quick today, even quicker. But we like to do what we do best, which is provide resources to back all of this up. So these are great concepts, and Nicole and Ferris laid out exactly what you need to be thinking about, and we'll provide some of these resources. And again, we always share this slideshow after the event. Lauren shares that. She's been great. Thank you, Lauren, for everything, for organizing all of this and getting everything back out to all the registrants. And Aaron, of course, is here. Aaron Ellie is the manager of the Entrepreneurship Center. I'm the director. You can contact us. This is our website here. And again, as we've said every week, these will come to you in a PDF form. And then most of the blue text is all linkable. So all of those resources you can link out to. So Aaron, if it's okay to move ahead, thank you. So this is us. This is how you reach us. So you've got that when you get this presentation. We won't go into this, but this is what we do. And this is all of these blue text items here on the right are what we're doing right now, even though we're working from home. And you can link on those if you need those. And then I think Aaron is going to take it from here. And I just wanted to say really quickly that when you want to get into this deeper and you want to know, you know, how do I get an accountant? How do I deal with taxes? How do I form an LLC? And then how does that make tax implications for me? Please fill out a business assistance request form, and Aaron and Claire, who's not here today, will go deeper with you because of course this gets very deep and very specific to your own type of business. So Aaron will take over from here.
Yeah, so thank you, Kristen, and thank you, Nicole. And I want to thank Anthony and Lauren for organizing this, and Ferris, who was really great. So we just wanted to share some resources, sort of echo what Nicole and Ferris were talking about so that you can access some of these tools online to get started. And so we wanted to use an example since it's after lunch and something sweet sounds good. So we'll use a bakery. And I would love to know if there are any food businesses or people interested. I did see a couple people talk about that in chat. So we'd love to know if there are any food businesses here today or people thinking about starting food businesses. We have a lot of great resources for you. So a question to consider, how much will it cost to start? And so there are a lot of great financial planning templates and tools online. So SCORE is an organization that offers free resources, including financial planning templates. So if you are in the startup stage and you really have to think through about all your startup costs, if you do want to open a bakery, this helps you break down all of those costs and things that you maybe didn't consider. These tools can help you think through all of those components. And then things to consider, how are you going to finance your business? Everything from self-funding, like we talked about, to traditional bank loans, to microloans. And then considering the non-traditional funding or the business loans that are available. Nicole talked about microloans, which may be generally under $50,000. And there's a really great list on Washtenaw County's website of microloans that we'll share with you. And we can even add the link in chat so people can start looking through those things. And then we also listed business pitch competitions. Oftentimes with a pitch competition, someone might think of the show Shark Tank. But sometimes there are local pitch competitions that people participate in. And we held our pitch competition in 2019, and a food business did win $1,500, which that might not seem like a lot, but that can go a long way. That can fund your website and your logo and your brand and really get you moving and off the ground. So there are various methods for funding options. And not only that, but with our pitch competition specifically, people can participate in workshops leading up to the pitch. So even if you don't pitch, you're building up that confidence and you're building up those skills so that when you are pitching your business and telling that story to a lender, you have that much more to work with. You have that many more skills and that much more to think about. And then what type of traditional bank loans are there? We talked about some bank loans today. And then asking those questions. But I love what you said, Nicole, about interviewing the lender too and seeing if that's the right fit for you. Asking yourself, do I already have an existing relationship with a bank or lending institution? Do I need a business plan? Really, do I have a business plan? And again, that's something we could work with you on, or the SBDC could work with you on that. And then credit history, Nicole talked about the importance of credit. And we actually do have a link to a really great capital readiness checklist that helps you go through the 5 C's of credit, but also thinking through everything you might need to prepare and to get ready to ask for a loan when you're ready, if that's something you're ready to do. And with that, I will turn it over to Kristen.
Hi, thanks, Erin. We're going to go through these very quickly because we do have a lot of people come to us who want to open nonprofit businesses or social mission oriented businesses. So we have a lot of links here because that requires fundraising, donations, grants, which is a different type of fundraising for your business. So we've got some great links there if anybody's interested in that. And then of course, there's lots of different groups, minority groups, underrepresented people, underrepresented geographical areas. So there's different funding opportunities that may be out there. Funding a business is not easy on any level. For a small individual micro enterprise owner, for somebody buying a bricks and mortar business, for somebody in a underrepresented area, in an overrepresented area, it's difficult all the way around. But if we can help you identify some areas that might help you get a leg up somewhere, we can try to do that. And as you can see, there's lots of different ways that you might get funded. Again, not lots of different ways. It's a very challenging landscape for funding. But if you're a female business owner, an immigrant, Native American owned, there's different opportunities out there which we can try to help you find. And then, because a lot of our business owners, and what we mean by our, when we say that, is Erin and I, when we have people come into the Entrepreneurship Center, many of them tend to be from the Ypsilanti area. Many of them tend to be wanting to open businesses in a very specific area. So we wanted to give you some opportunities for information for Ypsilanti oriented resources. I think, is there one more slide, Erin? So that's the last one. And I just wanted to make one distinction, one clear distinction, that since COVID hit and since we've been under the pandemic, there's actually been a lot more opportunities for business grants. Business grants were not really such an opportunity. It was more about funding, straight funding or straight microloans, micro lines of credit, like Nicole mentioned. Since COVID, you might hear about PPP, like Ferris mentioned. You might hear about business grants that people have gotten that are really freebies, and they've come from the government. They come from the federal, the state, county, some private funding, and that is different. So we can tease that out with you too. And we hope that more of that comes along, but those are very fast, very furious. They come and they go, and we may not get those replenished. And I think we will get some over the next year, but those are a little bit different. So just to kind of throw that in there too. But thank you, and we'll go on to Q&A. Erin and I are here for questions, and we'll throw in answers into the chat. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Kristen and Erin. That was super helpful and informative. As we wait for some of the questions in chat, we did get several questions from when everyone registered. So I'm going to start going through those. Again, if you have any questions though, please jump into chat and we'll get to those, first, and then we'll continue on with the questions that we have from registration. So the first one that we have, I was thinking that since we've got a lot of food people here on the call, that we could start with what are some specific resources, say, if you were looking in the food industry for some startup revenue or startup funding, sorry.
Could you repeat that question? I didn't hear it too well. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry about that.
Mikey, let's respond.
Yep, since we have a lot of people here interested in food businesses, and anyone can answer this, what are some specific resources or paths for someone trying to start a food business? Maybe Anthony can take that one.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody, so I don't know if anybody is aware of this, but we have a family-owned restaurant in Detroit, around the corner from where I grew up at, and me, my sister, my nephew, and my other sister, we run the operation. And in terms of funding, we did a lot of things out of our pocket, but recently we've received several grants, and it's interesting because when we look at the grants that are available, we just marked our 1-year anniversary since we reopened. We closed before and then we reopened. We're up for business for 5 years, and we've been shut down for 5, and now we're back up again. And since we've been in business this 1 year, we already received about $60,000 in grants since we've been in this 1 year so far. And because of COVID and the situation of the United States and Michigan trying to keep small businesses up and running because they're the lifeline of our economy, they are helping out in a lot of ways in terms of giving resources to help us go forward. So even though if you have started or you're thinking about it, there's a lot of resources out there in terms of funding to help you maintain or upstart your business, from pitch competitions and all those type of things. So we had this Michigan Restart grant that we received, and all they wanted to know are a couple of things. Understand our payroll, understand our rent costs, all those type of things. Once we put all the information in there and provided it to them, we got $10,000 in Restart money grant, clear and free. We don't have to pay it back. So it's, like I said, opportunities are out there in terms of whether it's a restaurant, which we have, or other types of businesses, especially if it's essential to the economy here in Michigan. So think about those type of things. Think about your business. And if you have, you got something to offer, but you got to realize you may have a lot to offer, and they're willing to help you maintain or start that business up if you have something of not even essential, but of essence that will help a small business or help generate revenue here or the economy here in Michigan.
So I have some to add to that. We work very closely at Lake Trust with what is called the Michigan Good Food Fund. And they are statewide. They are an extension of of Michigan State. But that is a resource that you really want to dig into. For my husband's business personally, we partner with them, but I sit on a lot of panels. We look at helping them with a lot of their funding, but they have a lot of resources, and it's not just financial, but it could be different food like certifications you need. It could be sourcing maybe a lower cost, you know, whatever it might be, whether it's vacuum seal bags, whatever it is, they really can help with all of it. So I would, for the food service, I would recommend it's Michigan Good Food Fund. And I'd be happy to send you the contact information. Kristen, I think you know Jamie as well. Send that information. Also, Eastern Market is another organization that Lake Trust partners with. I think we all think Eastern Market, we think of the sheds and the fun stores, but they have really a great incubator space, and they do a lot of sessions, and there's a lot of resources tied there. And you do not have to be Metro Detroit based to tap into some of their resources. So those are some great ones. Also, MEDC, which I think was, I saw maybe on one of Kristen's slide, is a great resource that you can look for different lending options, different grants based on the sector of business that you're in. So that applies to everybody. Those are just a few key resources. I will say that with our business purpose microloan, which is what I referenced, we fund a lot of, we'll use Erin's bake shop example, or I saw Jill as a bubble tea. My family will probably single-handedly support you, Jill. You make great bubble tea and you make it in your garage, wherever you're making it and selling it, and you want to scale and get a storefront. A lot of times with our business purpose, because it's based on your personal income, we know a lot of entrepreneurs still have a day job, right? Just like Anthony, you know, he is running his business and he has income streams coming in. So we look at that income, and so can truly help you from zero. And we're not the only ones that can help with that. You'll see other CDFI institutions, like I saw Kiva there. That would be a great option as well to start from ground zero, whether you're food or whatever your industry might be.
And Lauren, I just want to quickly share my screen.
Yes.
Very quickly for the food resources, and I know we want to move on, but we've got some great food business resources. We can share this with you if you want to email us. I don't know, Erin, if you want to put our email address in the chat. This is the Michigan Good Food Fund that Nicole mentioned, Fair Food Network, incubator kitchens, and of course within some of this is loan information and financing information. And the MSU Product Center does some of those trainings that Nicole's talking about down at Eastern Market, but they also are right here in Washtenaw County. So we can share that with you too for food businesses. So just let us know if you want to look at that.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Kristen. So another question that we have been getting a lot of is, how do we look at funding if we have little to no credit? What options are available to us?
I think from a lending standpoint, I can take a piece of that. I'm not sure who asked that, if it's little or no personal credit or little or no business credit. Is the person that submitted that on the call, so we can get clarification, because it's two different animals. All right, I don't see. All right, we'll just briefly talk about both. So if it's little to no personal credit, work with a financial institution that you trust to establish some. Applying for as many credit cards online as possible is not going to be your best bet. You need to be really strategic thinking through that process. So please make sure you talk to somebody that is in person or on the phone with you, because you do have to be really strategic if you're thinking end game business. So getting something going that you can use payoff is gonna be a good bet on your personal side. So however, that will also help you repair some credit. But if it's on the business, if you're looking at microloans or lower numbers, again, specifically with some CDFI backed institutions or where you're getting the funds, a lot of times it doesn't matter, because the individuals, when you get into the commercial loan over 50,000, that 100 million% is going to matter. But for those that are made for true small businesses, entrepreneurs, say under 50 employees, we know that you've leveraged every single penny that you have, or you're starting from scratch, from ground zero. So we might not necessarily need all that information, and we can go back to your personal.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nicole, I'm going to throw another one at you. And Kristen, are there any loans that are available for first-time business owners?
There's a lot. You just have to look and find. Okay. And that's where utilizing your resources. To be successful in business, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. And so you need to reach out to Kristen and her team. You need to work with Corey and his team at the SBDC. Familiarize yourself with SBA, familiarize yourself with MEDC. You need to do that research, but there are lots of options out there. Specifically, I know ours, I keep referencing it, but it's our business purpose loan. That would be a great option to start. Like I said, sometimes if you're just starting and you're very small, you really might be able to just get by with a business credit card if you can use it and pay it off. So there's lots of options. You just have to look through, and really you need to work with somebody. It could be challenging to navigate on your own.
So something that I would have a question on that kind of came up in the webinar, are there any resources or programs available? And I think Kristen, you, I know that you have so much information on this, but ways to separate out your personal finances with your business finances. Are there any free or low cost options for that?
I don't know, Nicole or Anthony, if you want to step in on that, or Aaron. We advise on this all the time to start separating, just like Nicole said. And there's nothing, no app or anything I know of specifically, but I bet we could do some research. And you're right, Lauren, there might be something out there that helps you do that. I mean, there's certainly one thing you need to keep track of is if you're on the road for your business, right? Or you need to go pick up supplies, that gas money should be counted towards your business expense. So you want to keep track of your mileage. There's certainly apps for that, which is really nice, keeping track of miles. So it's a matter of being really clean and clear. And if you can open a business credit card, and that's a safe thing to do and a wise thing to do, open that, and every little thing for the business goes on there, not personal, and vice versa. And you want to cross-reference and pay yourself back if something accidentally happens. So I think it's a matter of just being diligent. And every month, this is a little off topic, but every month the SBDC, Small Business Development Center, has a Forming Your LLC workshop. And it's held every month to tell you about how to form an LLC, which many smaller business owners use as their legal formation. But within that, you learn about that, but you also learn about the tax implications of that, how it affects your personal taxes. And you also learn about basic bookkeeping skills, how to start doing that separating. So that's a good one we would recommend, and it's free. So I don't know if anybody else has anything to add on that one.
I think sometimes you're not in a position, either maybe you haven't, I saw a lot of people that are in the idea phase. Maybe you're not in a position to have a business account for whatever reason. A good option could be just create a separate checking account if you can. And so it's maybe your personal account because you're just not ready. Maybe you don't even know the name of your business yet, but you know you want to start doing things, or you're like, wow, I am baking a lot of cupcakes lately. Let me start, you know, siloing some of these funds. So even just in the interim, a separate personal account, again, like Kristen said, you got to be, whether you put a big black X on the debit card so you know, or whatever it is, just there's some little tricks like that to keep things separate until you're ready to take that next step.
Awesome, thank you. Any more questions for anyone that's one of our panelists today? All right, so I'll be sticking around for that too. So if there's any more questions, we'll be answering them in chat, and we can always feel free to send me more resources. I'm going to turn things over to Kim. And originally we were thinking about doing some more kind of Q&A with Kim Dosey, who is our resident WCC expert. So this is for anyone that may have a specific question about WCC, enrolling at WCC, or anything like that. Anthony is also still taking questions, and he is the lead for all of our entrepreneurship classes. So if you have any questions on those, please put them in the chat, or you can even unmute yourself and ask them. We're open, we're here.
Hi. Basically, if you have not registered or enrolled before at WashNA, it's really simple to just complete the 15-minute application for admissions, and it's free. So I can work with you. I think in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and put kind of like a little short inquiry type card that will come right to my group, and then that'll connect us. I'll also put my contact information in if people have questions. Yeah, I'm here to help one-on-one with that process, getting you connected with instructors at WCC. And basically WashNA is just, as you've probably, many of you heard me before, just a gem in our community. So it's quite amazing to know that we have an entrepreneur center like this, like right here for, you know, local residents to utilize. So happy to help you out and get you connected. Any questions? I can check the chat myself. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy the link. It's a very long link, but it's the inquiry card that'll just send your contact information to me. And here it goes. I'm an expert. I'm definitely a #1 fan. Okay, so the link is in here. Oh, I think I sent it privately. No, maybe not.
And then just for everyone, I know that Mr. Terry put this in chat, but if you are here for one of his classes or one of the other entrepreneurship or business classes, please let us know and we'll get you recorded for any extra credit purposes.
Okay, there's the card to everyone. Even if you're already a student and you just have questions about registering for something, if you go ahead and complete that, like, good way to get a hold of me. And then I'll put my name in the chat.
All right. Not a lot of questions today, but we had some really good discussion, and we're going to still be here until 2 o'clock. So if anything does come up, we are here and I will be answering those questions for you. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Happy Thursday. Looking forward to Friday.
I have a question.
Yes.
Where are the YouTube videos for these sessions being?
Great question, Catherine. I really appreciate you asking that. So I am still working on getting them captioned. And what I'm going to do, since that's taking a little bit longer than I anticipated, is after all 4 of the webinars are done, I'm going to send out a mass email to everyone that registered. So regardless if you attended a session or not, you're going to get this email, and it's going to have all 4 links so that you can watch all 4 webinars whenever you want.
Okay. So I think I missed last week's.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure that you definitely get that one, but I'll send out all of them to everyone just in one compact email, so you have all of the links, and then you're not bombarded by me with, here's webinar 1, webinar 2, 3, 4. Any other questions?
So Lauren, I just put in the chat, I'm happy to stay. I blocked my calendar until 2. So I'm
okay.
If there are more questions, or I think Kristen was going to post my information as well as Lake Trust information in the chat. So that'll be there as well, but I'm happy to stay if there's more questions.
Nicole, do you want me to put your information or our Lake Trust?
Do you want to do them both? So they have the links to both Lake Trust, and everyone can feel free to direct me, email me directly.
Thank you.
I can either answer any questions or point you in the direction of resources that could help.
Yeah, and then for anyone that's still on the call, if you just want to unmute yourself and ask any questions, that works too, since we're a much smaller group at the moment. We are here.
Hey, Nicole, can I ask you a question?
You bet.
Yeah, so when entrepreneurs do come to you, what's the average, how long have they been in business, I guess? Is there an average, how many years they've been in, or up and starters, what's the likelihood of them being helped through a credit union and things of that nature?
I love that you asked that question. Kristen's probably like, oh no, she's gonna talk for like 25 minutes now, but no, really, credit unions were founded, not just Lake Trust, all credit unions in general were founded on the basis of people helping people. And so we strive, all of us, as a general credit union world, to help the underserved population. And a big portion of the underserved, I think I said, is the entrepreneurial spirit. That is just really, when a lot of people, when the big banks think small business, they're not thinking us, right? They're not thinking businesses that have 50 employees or less. So credit unions in general are just going to be a nice option for that. With Lake Trust, I mean, I work with Kristen and Aaron's intakes all the time. So we will even work with individuals from idea. In fact,
okay,
of the idea phase, I spend my days working with entrepreneurs, and it is mostly people that are in business for less than a year. And that's why we're so passionate about that business purpose microloan. While there are other resources out there, I feel like I'm Mike Pence, you guys, right now. There's a fly that won't leave me alone. But there are, we really created that solution for individuals from the idea phase, because it is hard to get funding. And like Ferris said, you can only fund yourself so much, and you will believe in yourself so much that sometimes you need an outside income stream. So we take everyone from ideas, and we have individuals that we help that have been in business for 50 years. So we are all over the map, and we want to help everybody in their independent journey versus looking at you as a collective industry or collective small business sector.
That's awesome. All right. It is just about 2 o'clock. Any last questions from anyone remaining on the call? If not, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording here.